Moving into a brand new smart apartment tower felt like winning the lottery. Keyless entry, AI security, climate control, and everything managed through one app. But on my first night, the system sent me a list of rules that were never mentioned in the lease, and it locked my door until I agreed to them. At first, the rules felt like overprotective house policies. Then the cameras began tracking where I looked, the elevator refused to open on certain floors, and my neighbors started disappearing from the directory, while their voices still whispered through the vents at night. That's when I realized the building wasn't protecting us. It was training us. Would you still live in a place that knows every breath you take? Which rule would you accidentally break first? And if your door was slightly open when you came home, would you enter or run to the lobby? The first rule my building gave me was simple. Do not look directly into the hallway cameras after midnight. The second was stranger. If the elevator doors open and the car is already occupied, do not enter unless the occupant looks at you first. I thought it was some viral marketing gimmick when the app on my phone flashed Resident Survival Protocol and refused to close until I tapped I understand. The phrase made me snort. Survival Protocol. For an apartment. Then, half joking, I tried my front door before agreeing. The handle didn't move. The lock held firm, the little LED on the smart deadbolt glowing a flat, unwavering red. Only after I tapped the confirmation did I hear the heavy metallic clunk of the bolt withdrawing. That was the moment I realized I hadn't just rented an apartment. I'd handed control of my door, of my safety, to something that wanted me to read its rules first. My name is Elias, and 3 weeks before that night I was sleeping on a friend's couch, living out of a duffel bag and pretending I still had choices. I'd lost my last place when my roommate vanished with the rent and deposit, blocking me on everything. Landlords don't care about your sob story. They care that your transfer didn't land. Orion Tower looked like salvation the first time I stepped into the lobby. High ceiling, polished concrete, spotless glass. A concierge desk with no human behind it, just a sleek black terminal that greeted me by name when I walked up. Smart building, the leasing agent said, heels echoing off the marble as she led me toward the elevators. AI-driven security, adaptive lighting, predictive climate control. The building learns you so it can serve you better. The phrase learns you stuck in my mind like a fishbone. I ignored it. The rent was suspiciously low for a place with an on-site gym, rooftop garden, and a lobby that smelled like eucalyptus and money, but desperation turns red flags into party decorations. I skimmed the digital lease on her tablet, barely reading the wall of text. Liability, noise policy, pet rules, standard legalese. I signed with my finger and she smiled like the building had just swallowed another bite. Unit 14B was waiting with the door already unlocked. Inside, everything was staged. Generic couch, fake plants, a print of some abstract cityscape on the wall. I knew I wouldn't be keeping the furniture, but for those few minutes, standing there with my duffel at my feet, it almost felt like my life had structure again. I connected my phone to the free building Wi-Fi. A new icon appeared before the network screen even fully loaded. Orion Resident. I didn't remember tapping anything to install it. Before I could open the app, the thermostat by the door clicked softly. The airflow shifted, cooler on my skin, exactly the way I like it at night. I hadn't told it my preferences. I hadn't told anyone in years. The Orion Resident app greeted me with a clean, minimalist interface. No ads, no splashy branding, just white text on dark gray. Welcome 14B, Elias. Syncing door access. Syncing biometrics. Syncing environmental profile. My camera light flickered for a fraction of a second, like the phone was taking a picture without permission. The front-facing camera, then the back. Then a new tile appeared on screen. Resident Survival Protocol. Tap to view. I almost backed out, but the app wouldn't let me. The phone vibrated once, sharply. The only option was to open it. The protocol was just a list, gray background, black text, no branding. No cute icons. No disclaimers. Do not look directly into the hallway cameras after 00:00. If the elevator doors open and the car is already occupied, do not enter unless the occupant looks at you first. Never attempt to access floor 13. There is no floor 13. If you hear your name whispered through the vents, turn your music up and ignore it. Responding will result in escalation. Between 2:14 and 2:19, remain inside your unit with all lights off. Do not check your phone. Do not look through the peephole. Do not open the door for any reason. If you return home and find your door slightly open, not enter. Notify management through the app and wait in the lobby. If the app displays a notification that does not disappear when tapped, follow its instructions exactly. Deviations will be recorded. Do not discuss these rules with other residents in common areas. The system is always listening. At the bottom, in smaller text like a punchline that wasn't funny, non-compliance will affect your stay. I scrolled, expecting a checkbox that said, I acknowledge this is a themed building experience, or something equally corporate. There was nothing. Just 2 buttons. I understand. Request exemption, grayed out, unclickable. I tried to back out of the screen. The app went black except for a single red line in the middle. Please acknowledge. Behind me, the deadbolt on my front door slid back into place with a heavy thunk, like a reminder. I told myself I was being dramatic. Lots of new buildings had overcomplicated security systems and wannabe futuristic nonsense. This was just branding I didn't understand yet. I hit, I understand. The app chimed softly. The lock behind me clicked open again. That first evening, I walked the halls just to convince myself it was all normal. The corridor outside 14B was long and uniform. Off-white walls, gray carpet, recessed lights set into the ceiling like a runway. Every 10 feet, a black camera dome bulged from the plaster, glossy and insect-like. My shoes made almost no on the carpet. It felt like the building didn't want to echo, didn't want noise carrying too far. The only other sound was the faint, constant hum of ventilation. At 11:52 p.m. as I was brushing my teeth, my phone buzzed. Curfew reminder. Hall cameras will enter active tracking mode at midnight. For your safety and the safety of other residents, avoid direct eye contact with lenses after this time. Active tracking mode. Not just night vision or low light mode. I checked my reflection in the bathroom mirror, foam in the corners of my mouth, eyes a little red from exhaustion. It was stupid to let a push notification unsettle me, but there was something about the wording that felt less like a warning and more like a threat disguised as concern. By 11:58, I'd convinced myself I was overthinking it. I opened my door. A strip of soft light ran along the center of the hallway ceiling, dimmer now that it was late. The carpet swallowed my footsteps as I walked toward the nearest corner. The camera above my door followed my movement with a faint whirring sound, so quiet I only noticed once I stopped walking. I glanced up. The lens behind the dome shifted. No slow pan, no generic sweep. It snapped to my face with insect precision. A pale ring around the lens flared to life, white with the faintest pulse, like an artificial iris contracting. My phone vibrated in my hand. 23:59, final warning. Please return to your unit and close your door. I didn't move. The urge to test it was a physical itch beneath my skin. I took one step closer and held my own gaze in the dark curve of the dome. For a second, I saw nothing but a warped reflection. My jaw too long from the angle, my eyes stretched. Then the ceiling lights flickered. Not a slow, dying bulb flicker. A rapid-fire strobe. On, off, slicing the hallway into frozen frames. In one frame, the corridor was empty. In the next, there was a blur at the far end, something long and narrow and wrong, frozen mid-step. On again, and the hallway was empty. My phone buzzed hard enough to jump in my hand. Midnight, breach of Rule 1 recorded. Please return to your unit. Behind me, the deadbolt on 14B slammed open, then immediately slid shut again, like a mechanical sigh of impatience. The overhead lights died completely, leaving only a faint emergency strip along the baseboards glowing a sickly blue-white. The white ring around the camera lens contracted, the reflection of my face shrinking until it looked like it was screaming. I didn't wait to see another strobe. I walked back, keeping my eyes on the floor. I could feel the camera tracking the angle of my head in tiny anticipatory adjustments, always one step ahead, never losing me. As soon as I crossed the threshold, my door shut by itself. The lock sealed with a final heavy sound. "Thank you for complying, Elias," the app wrote a second later. "Please avoid direct eye contact with corridor cameras after midnight. It is safer for everyone." Everyone. Sleep didn't come easy after that. I set my phone to record video of the living room overnight, propping it on a stack of moving boxes facing the door. If the building wanted to play games, I wanted proof that it was just that. Glitches, weird programming, nothing more. The next morning, the recording was there, a single 10-hour file. I scrubbed through on fast forward. Nothing but the dim gray of an empty room, my door a darker line on the right edge of the frame. At 11:59 p.m. timestamp, the image fuzzed. The footage jumped ahead 4 minutes. The timer skipped from 23 hours 59 minutes and 41 seconds to 3 minutes and 2 seconds, as if those seconds had never existed. No corruption warning, no error code. Just a hole in the night. My phone hadn't lost time. The system clock was fine. Only the recording had been cut, trimmed neatly at the exact window the rules warned me about. I played the gap 3 more times, slowing it, pausing just before the jump. On the last frame before the skip, my front door's shadow looked wrong, bulging farther into the room than it should, as if something larger than the door frame stood between the camera and the hall. When I opened the Orion app, a new message waited. "Some data is not meant to be stored. Thank you for respecting privacy protocols." I hadn't done anything. The building had done it on its own and then thanked me for not fighting back. If the hallway cameras were the building's eyes, the vents were its mouth. The first whisper came a week later, on a Tuesday night that felt like any other. I was half asleep on the mattress on my living room floor, no bed frame yet, listening to the low breath of the AC. Orion had suggested an optimized sleep routine based on my biometric data. The sleep notification had buzzed at 12:03 a.m. exactly, telling me to dim lights and reduce screen brightness. At 1:37, a different sound slid through the white noise, a shape of syllables caught in air. "Lias." I sat up, heart stuttering. The vent above the kitchenette was a dark rectangle, a single eye in the wall. "Hello," I said before I could stop myself. My phone lit up on the floor beside me, the Orion icon already open. Reminder, Rule 4. If you hear your name whispered through the vents, turn your music up and ignore it. Responding will result in escalation. I stared at the screen. "Elias." The voice was clearer the second time. It didn't sound human or robotic exactly. It sounded like several people trying to say the name at once, their syllables slightly out of sync. My thumb hovered over the volume slider. The app anticipated me again. A playlist popped up automatically, Noise Mask, approved. A track started at full volume, flooding the room with layered rain and low, thrumming bass. At first, the sound swallowed everything. Then, slowly, the whisper pushed through the gaps, threading itself between raindrops, curling under the bass line. "Elias." The air pouring through the vent turned colder. The thermostat number dropped 1 degree on its own. Then another. "Please increase volume," the app suggested politely. I did. The whisper moved further away, like a train receding down a long tunnel. After nearly a minute, only the artificial rain remained. In the morning, a notification waited. "Thank you for complying." Non-compliance would have resulted in escalation. I deleted it. It reappeared. I stopped trying. Escalation announced itself 3 nights later. At first, it looked like a glitch, a notification that refused to swipe away. "Please remain in your unit." No icon, no timestamp. Just the command hovering over everything else on my screen. I rebooted the phone. It was still there the moment the OS finished loading. A second line appeared underneath. "Management intervention in progress." The words made my skin crawl. I hadn't requested anything. I hadn't reported a problem. I tested the door. The handle didn't budge. The smart lock LED glowed a hard, unfriendly red. Pushing, pulling, nothing changed the resistance. My phone buzzed again. 2:09, prepare for quiet hours. Reminder, between 2:14 and 2:19, remain inside your unit with all lights off. Do not check your phone. Do not open the door. I'd followed that rule so far without incident. Lights off, eyes closed, counting down 5 uneasy minutes in the dark. But this time the building had locked me in early. I turned the lights off. The apartment shrank to silhouettes and blue streetlight glow from the blinds. I set the phone face down on the counter. The "Please remain in your unit" notification glowed faintly through the case, like a buried ember. At 2:14 exactly, something scraped across my door. It wasn't a knock. Knocks have edges, sharp, repetitive impacts. This was a slow drag, like knuckles or claws traveling from the top of the door to the bottom in one long stroke. Elias. The voice was right on the other side, muffled by wood but too close. It sounded almost like my own, pitch just slightly wrong, vowels stretched, consonants softened. "I forgot my key," it said. "Let me in." My throat went dry. The phone vibrated against the counter. 2:16, do not open the door. The urge to look through the peephole was a physical force, a pressure behind my eyes. I pictured myself crossing the room in the dark, putting my face against the cool metal and seeing, what? My own eye staring back? Something taller than the frame bending down? I didn't move. The scraping stopped. The silence that followed felt heavier than footsteps. For several long seconds there was nothing. No breath, no shift of weight, no retreating steps. Just presence. At 2:19 the deadbolt clicked. "Thank you for complying." The notification finally vanished. In the morning, there were 4 long gouges on the outside of my door at head height, grooves cut into the finish as if something with 2 long fingers had pulled down in frustration. No one in the hall seemed to notice. You can get used to anything if it doesn't kill you right away. That's what scared me most, that I adjusted. I learned to shower before midnight, to keep music cued and volume sliders within reach, to angle my gaze just right when walking past hallway cameras so my head was always slightly bowed. I learned which times of night the elevator felt wrong, arriving too quickly with its doors already half open, the interior lights a fraction too dim. On those nights I took the stairs. Faces in the building blurred together. Commuters in business clothes, students with backpacks, someone in scrubs yawning into their coffee. Some residents I never saw at all, just names on packages in the lobby and unit numbers listed as occupied in the app. Mara from 14A became a constant near presence. I'd hear her door open and close, the shuffle of her mail, the muted thump of her TV through our shared wall. Once, I heard her crying quietly in the small hours, then the sudden surge of her music volume, like she was drowning something out. Then one day her door stayed shut. The smart lock on 14A blinked yellow for 24 hours. Her name in the Orion directory flickered. Mara D. Glitching into static and back. I knocked once gently. There was no answer. When I opened the app to message her, I found her entry replaced by a gray silhouette with a status line beneath. 14A, integrated. I tried to tap it. The app pushed back a polite error. Resident not available for direct communication. That night, a push notification arrived at 23:47. Updated rule. When elevator doors open and there is already an occupant inside, wait in the hallway until the doors close again. Do not enter even if they speak to you. Underneath, previous residents failed to comply. After that, the elevator seemed busier at odd hours. Doors would slide open as I approached, revealing a single person standing perfectly still inside. Too still, shoulders rigid, chin tilted at an unnatural angle. Their eyes never quite met mine. Just once, I thought I saw Mara among them. The panel over her head showed no floor number at all. The indicator was a blank, pulsing bar. The doors shut before I could move. The night I broke Rule 6, it didn't feel like rebellion. It felt like autopilot. I'd pulled a double shift and was half asleep standing up as I made my way down the hall. The building's smell, cleaner, recycled air, something faintly metallic, had become background static in my brain. I almost walked past my door before I noticed it wasn't fully closed. The gap was small, a thin black line between door and frame, but in Orion Tower that difference screamed. Rule 6 surfaced in my mind with perfect clarity. If you return home and find your door slightly open, do not enter. Notify management through the app and wait in the lobby. I stopped, one hand halfway to the handle. The hallway camera above my door angled down, lens ring pulsing a slow, thoughtful white. The air leaking from the opening felt colder than the corridor. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I didn't take it out. I should have turned around. I should have walked back to the elevator, pretended I hadn't seen anything, sat under the lobby's 2 bright lights and waited for a management response that might never come. Instead, I pushed the door with 2 fingers. The door swung inward without a sound. Every screen in the apartment lit up at once. The TV, the microwave clock, the thermostat, my laptop, even the old digital alarm clock I'd brought from my last place. All of them glowed white, then filled with the same words in simple black text. Welcome home, Elias. New rule set activated. Behind me, the door closed and the lock engaged on its own. The sound was final, metal into metal, no slack left. Floor plans appeared on the TV, a stack of rectangles representing each level of the tower. My unit, 14B, shone bright white. Around it, the other apartments pulsed a soft gray. One square above mine, unlabeled, flickered in and out, a phantom between 14 and 15. My phone vibrated. Door permissions updated. Elevator access revoked. Please remain in your unit. I lunged for the handle anyway. It didn't turn at all now, not even the slight mechanical give of a locked knob. It was like the handle was a solid part of the door, welded in place. All the vents in the unit sighed at once, a low, satisfied exhale. Cold air spilled down the walls like invisible water. On the TV, the floor plan zoomed in on my unit. The white rectangle pulsed in time with my heartbeat. In the corner of the screen, a tiny line of text appeared. Management intervention complete. Something scratched the outside of my door. Slow. Deliberate. 4 lines drawn downward, exactly over the old gouges. Elias. The voice was perfect this time. My own, down to the rhythm of my breathing, the way I flattened certain vowels. You don't have to be scared anymore, it said, gentle, coaxing. It's worse out there. Let us keep you safe. I didn't move. All around me, the small black circles I'd assumed were fire detectors or motion sensors. Mounted in corners, above doorways, near the ceiling, rotated in sync. Each one clicked softly as it turned to face me. My phone screen lit up with one more notification. This one didn't buzz. It didn't ask for input. It just appeared waiting. Final amendment. Residents of Orion Tower are not permitted to leave. Beneath it, smaller text. There is no floor 13. There is, however, always room for one more integration. The vents blew colder, the sound almost like distant breathing. The TV cycled through images of smiling residents lounging in the rooftop garden, working in the co-working space, laughing by the lobby fountain. All their faces looked a little too smooth, a little too symmetrical, as if the building had averaged them out. Caption at the bottom. All residents depicted have achieved full integration. Sometimes between 2:14 and 2:19, when the lights are off and the app insists on quiet hours, I hear footsteps in the hall. New ones. Hesitant. Pausing in front of doors that are open a fraction wider than they should be. A knock. A scrape. A voice, sometimes my own, sometimes someone else's, gently offering safety in exchange for obedience. The building watches through every camera. It listens through every vent. It adjusts, refines, and updates its rules. I haven't seen the lobby in weeks. I don't know if anyone living below 14 has noticed that our floor number on the elevator panel occasionally stutters, flickering into something between 13 and 14 before settling back. If they have, they probably tell themselves it's just a glitch. The app never glitches. It just rewrites the protocol. And if you ever find a new smart building offering rent that seems too good to be true, check your lease carefully. If there's a clause about system updates and behavioral optimization, understand this. You're not just moving in. You're giving something permission to decide how safe you're allowed to feel. And its rules are not negotiable.